So, Namaste everyone. Today is the 36th session of Manav Vyavhar Darshan English translation reading sessions. And a very warm welcome to all of you. And today's session will be addressed by Richa Sharma from Kanpur. Richa, we more commonly know her as Soni. She happens to be Babaji's granddaughter, and we always saw her as a very nice young girl who used to be in that house. So it's very nice to actually see you reading the book. It's like uh, a circle somehow becoming completed in a way. Yeah. So welcome, Richa. You will be reading chapter number 16, that is called Shoshan and Poshan, Shoshan or Poshan, right there. And over to you. And maybe you could begin by first describing what you are doing and anything that you would like to share.
Yes. Uh, Thank you. Namaste, everyone. My name is Richa, and I think I've been introduced to Madhyasth Darshan from a very, very young age because Babaji also happens to be my grandfather, and I have really grown up around such intelligent people. So I feel very fortunate, and I also feel very grateful right now. So I got married 4 years ago in Kas, and now I stay in Kanpur. I also run an organic food store here called Vikalp, uh, wherein we have our own farm, we grow our own food, and we also kind of have a small place where we sell all of our produce, and we also try and get as many good producers in the JV circle and outside of it as well. And we've been very well connected by with those kinds of farmers who are doing really well, and we also try to keep their things in the store, and we kind of try to sell them. So and yeah, I think that is probably it. And now I think we should maybe start. Uh,
So, Richa, would you like me to share the screen?
Yeah, I think that would be better because
Yeah, okay. Just 1 minute. Yes,
okay, shall
you
I
could.
start?
Yes.
Chapter 16, Nurturing and Exploitation. Poshan evam Shoshan. No human wants themselves to be exploited. So it is clear to each of us that as individuals, we do not want to be exploited. And once we understand and accept that even others also share the same desire to not be exploited, and that we all seek to be nurtured, a point of similarity is established. And this shared understanding becomes the foundation of a relationship which is built on justice. Unit minus conducive unit equals exploitation. Unit plus conducive unit equals nurturing. So this applies to both sentient and insentient beings. That is, in case of a plant, if we provide the right amount of water and sunlight and occasional manure, the plant will thrive and in turn will also nurture others. It will purify the air, provides us with food. However, if we deprive the plant of these essentials or add harmful chemicals, fertilizers, it gets exploited. And sometimes it also loses its ability to nurture others. And in case of humans, if there's an environment that is more conducive to my growth and me attaining resolution, where there's a sanyog of supportive individuals, the chances of me being nurtured is much higher. Conversely, if in an environment there's an environment which is the opposite of this, where the conducive factors or the supportive factors for my growth or the supportive individuals are either not available or are diminishing, then there's a greater likelihood that I might be exploited or eventually might develop those exploitative tendencies. Okay, so next, can we move on to the development and awakening is the goal of the whole universe. Hence, the impulsion of every insentient unit is only for development, progression, and development. The isolated existence of a unit is not perceived in the universe. Each unit, while being inspired from the environment, strives to become independent upon being perturbed from its pressure. The universe exists in two forms, insentient and sentient. The insentient nature is in orderliness with inherence and participation in overall orderliness, the perceivers of which are humans. The sentient universe has the provision of independence or autonomy in human entities upon awakening. Independence here does not imply becoming isolated from everyone. Rather, it means liberating oneself from the pressure of the environment and evidencing harmony in the coexistential orderliness. There are ample possibilities for this within humans, and awakened humans have indeed realized independence. So, this is actually, I really liked this paragraph very much because it talks about isolation and independence. So, as we see that there is no unit in this universe that can exist in isolation. Every unit in this universe is expressed and identified in relation to its environment or in a mutual interaction with other units in existence. And this is for both sentient and insentient beings. Now, every unit in this universe also strives to become independent. Uh, for instance, for insentient units, independence means inherent orderliness, which is also called Swayam Vyavastha, and participation in the overall order. For humans, independence means living through awakening or complete resolution without being affected or pressured by the external factors. I think in the present scenario for the students of Madhyasth Darshan, independence would mean engaging the resources, which is mind, body, and wealth, towards understanding the philosophy and through adhyan and abhyas, and being in an environment or with people who can inspire us in our pursuit. So, and here development refers to constitutional completeness or Gathan Purnata, and awakening refers to activity completeness, which is also called uh, Kriya Purnata. Uh, In this chapter, nurturing and exploitation has been studied only with respect to humans. Nurturing is in the context of coexistence, else it is exploitation. Uh, the ultimate attainment of human awakening lies in the realization of independence upon liberation from the torment and friction from the environment. All the impediments to awakening are exploiters, and all helpful elements are nurturers. Therefore, it is proven that all the activities that block the path of awakening are exploitation, and those which foster awakening are nurturing. So I've tried to introspect on this on the possible factors that I feel are the impediments to my awakening, and I would like to share these few points with you. uh, so the first thing that I feel is an impediment to my growth for awakening could be is when I doubt the intentions of, or when one doubts the intentions of others, or when I'm not able to accept that the intrinsic nature of a person can be same as mine, which is attaining complete resolution. That I feel is an impediment in my growth. The second thing that I feel is an impediment is also when there are different, when one has different parameters for oneself and the other person. uh, Oftentimes when I am wrong about something, and when I expect people to understand that my intentions are clearer, I might not be competent enough. But when I find the other person to be in the exact same spot as me, my first reaction is to probably judge the person's intent and not the competence, because and this I think usually happens uh, in the relation, in a pati patni sambandh, where I feel that I expect Anant to usually not doubt my intentions and maybe think of me as not competent enough, whereas if he's in the same situation as mine, I feel that intentions might not be in the right place. So that is something that I struggle with. Also, the third thing that I feel is can be an impediment is also sometimes when there's a lack of honesty to openly accepting, or when there's accepting when we are not right in a situation, or there's not an accurate self evaluation, uh, and or I might resist acknowledging that I might be wrong in certain situations. That could be a factor that might slow down the process. Also, when adhyan and abhyas are not prioritized in a daily routine, or sometimes being lazy about it could be the reason. Maybe blaming the external factors for maybe for the lack of growth that one can have. Also, there are times when we are not right about a situation. The natural reaction is feeling guilty about it and maybe holding on to it instead of addressing the issue or resolving it or moving on, which might further cause anxiety or depression or sadness. So I feel these, I see them as the factors which could be slowing down the growth, or maybe also sometimes not helping us reach the goal that we are supposed to. uh, Now, the factors that might help in our growth could be being, the first thing is that uh, being transparent throughout the process, or having an accurate evaluation of oneself, or expressing myself as I am and not pretending to be someone else. The second thing would be to enjoy the process without maybe setting a timeline. Ki maybe in a year or 2 years I'll attain anubhav. I think that could be a little difficult, because that also puts a lot of unnecessary pressure. Third probably would be establishing a time. I mean, prioritizing adhyan and abhyas, and also incorporating them in our daily routine. Um, Also focusing on a bigger goal, or bigger humane goal, which encompasses the smaller or individual goals, can be helpful in one's growth. Uh, every unit is influenced by mutuality, though this influence may be gross or subtle. Since the analysis here is about nurturing and exploitation of humans, we will need to analyze with differentiation of the levels of individual, family, society, nation, and the world. Humans are one at the level of the world, and their common wish is only happiness. The accomplishment of continuous happiness indeed is the ultimate development of humans, and it is only in the state of happiness that humans realize independence from the pressure of the environment. A happy person is also capable of nurturing others. Since humans live and express Okay. Since humans live and express themselves across all these four levels: individual, family, society, nation, and world, we can analyze various parameters of nurturing at each level. So, and the ultimate goal of humans is to attain eternal happiness, and only a happy person of is capable of nurturing others. As Babaji would always say, जो जिसके पास है वो उसको बांटेगा ही. I think this really applies well here. Can we move on to the next para? Happiness is a state of. Okay, wait, I've got a message here. Okay, I'll slow down a bit. Yeah, thank you. uh, Happiness is a state of consciousness characterized by harmony and alignment in the strengths and powers of Jivan. All humans become happy with resolution. It is noteworthy that the Jivan atom is at the most developed status. So, happiness is a state of consciousness characterized by harmony and alignment in the strength and power of Jivan. So, Sukh or happiness is an internal state of fulfillment, and it might manifest in a person's active engagement or a desire to take action. In contrast, when we seek fulfillment through external actions or appearances, uh, the true sense of happiness becomes very elusive because we're trying to fulfill ourselves with mere actions. So, at the level of Jivan's activities, the state of happiness or sukh occurs when there's a harmony between man and vritti, or when the man functions in alignment with the vritti. Expanding on this, when man functions in accordance with vritti, it results in a state of happiness or sukh. Um, when vritti aligns with chit, or when vritti acts in accordance with chit, there's a state of peace or shanti. And similarly, when chit acts in accordance with buddhi, it leads to a state of contentment or santosh. And the behavioral aspect of sukh also means that living in Swadhan Swanari Swapurush and Dayapurna Karyavyavhar, which is also rightful ownership of wealth, marital faithfulness, and kindness in work and behavior, which also leads us in experiencing sukh. So it is in the there's sukh happens in an activity of jivan and also manifests in Swadhan, Swanari, Swapurush, and Dayapurna Karyavyavhar in behavior. Also, the Jivan atom is the most developed state in the development progression. The Jivan atom is the most developed atom. Humans have uh, sought to sought happiness through intellectual resolution and material prosperity. Uh, Fear poses the biggest obstacle on the way to intellectual resolution. Humans have suffered from three types of fears: fear of natural events, fear of animals, and fear of inhumaneness in humans. So, humans experience three types of fear. The first is the fear of natural events, which is fear of maybe any natural calamity, which is earthquake or flood or epidemic. The second fear is the fear of animals, for example, fear of snakes or maybe being attacked by a larger predator. The third fear is the fear of inhumaneness in humans. This includes fear of those who act against the natural laws, which is the misappropriation of wealth or adultery, or maybe inflicting harm on others, and maybe fear from those who can have these kinds of tendencies. So the first two fears have largely been managed and controlled through many institutional and systemic measures, and we don't have to face them or deal with them on a daily basis. But the fear of inhumaneness is something that we might have to deal with on a daily basis. We fear that someone might exploit us, or someone might misuse our resources, or we might be cheated or deceived by somebody. So that is something that we um, face on a daily basis. Next. The fear in humans of their fellow humans is caused by behaviors of misappropriation of wealth, adultery, and inflicting pain to others. This itself is the fear of inhumaneness in humans. Such behavior gives rise to malice, terror, violence, and counter-violence. Next. Humans experience fear as a result of the aforementioned three causes in four ways: fear of social status, fear of prestige, fear of wealth, and fear of life. So, here, fear of social status refers to the fear of losing one's position or standing if one is maybe not productive enough or underperforms. Also, it can also be the fear of social status, also can mean that there's a fear of maybe being exploited by someone in a higher position than myself. So, if I'm working in a company or if there's somebody who's maybe in a higher position, there's always a fear of being exploited by my higher authority. Fear of prestige is fear of maybe losing respect within one's family or society, or the fear of my reputation being damaged by someone else. Fear of wealth involves the fear of losing one's wealth to theft or exploitation, or my resources might get stolen, my resources might get exploited, or the concern whether one can secure employment or earn a living, because in today's times it is also possible, and it's also a fear in the youth if they can earn a living. uh, then fear of life also pertains to very personal safety, especially in case of women, or includes concern faced by people who have prolonged illness, when there is an uncertainty about the sustenance of the body after a while. If there's a chronic illness, then there's a fear of maybe having uh, to be in that body for a longer period of time, which is also fear of life, in my opinion. Humans have to have only three means for attaining material prosperity: the body, the mind, and the wealth. Next, Tara. Deluded humans, while utilizing and consuming nature's abundance obtained through deploying their mind, body, mind, and wealth, have sought liberation from the fear of natural events, fear of animals, and fear of inhumaneness in humans. Humans have next. Humans have sought sociality in the form of sex to overcome this fear, their fear. The meaning of sociality is nothing but the fulfillment of relationships and associations. And for this, there are four basic sources of inspiration: civilization, culture, systems, and legislation. So, to overcome these fears, humans have sought to build societies by living with others, and these interactions happen in two ways: either through relationships or through associations, and eventually their fulfillment. So, relationships and cultures and associations are shaped by culture and civilization of a certain region. For example, how someone is addressed in a certain region. Maybe how, what is the sambodhan, and how one, through which one defines the sambandh. So how one addresses others is something that defines the relationships in that given area. Or how we look at marital faithfulness, what is the how is swadan and swanari perceived in a certain culture or civilization, also influences the culture in that region. Next. Humans have sought to realize happiness by deploying the available resources through civilization, culture, systems, and legislation. Human communities ranging from small to big have endeavored to become happy through use and consumption of resources. However, when happiness could not be accomplished through isolated efforts, the society got constituted, and within such society, the laws were accepted for fulfillment of relationships and associations. These laws were scrutinized within the framework of culture and civilization, and were accepted in the form of necessary and unnecessary rules. This led to the emergence of systems and legislation to inspire everyone to understand and adhere to these rules the way they were intended. So this is to provide a historical context when humans began living together with the intent of achieving happiness. Societies started to emerge in many such in one such efforts. So this after the formation of society led to the formation of relationships and associations, which also in turn led to the creation of laws that govern these interactions. So laws became the foundation for our understanding of culture and civilization that eventually helped establishing both necessary laws and unnecessary laws. And to comprehend the laws, there were systems were formed, or vidhi was formed, and to systematize and implement these laws, legislations or vyavastha were developed. The policies of right use of available resources, mind, body, and wealth, were determined in the light of Madhyasth Darshan coexistentialism to ensure the alignment of legislation and systems with culture and civilization, and these were termed as moral policy. Moral policy is the grandeur of humaneness. So, moral policy helps create an attitude or a mindset of righteous utilization of resources, which is body, mind, and wealth, for the fulfillment of values in relationships. And by cultivating such mindset, we can ensure the proper alignment, correct alignment of culture, civilization, systems, and legislations. So which is basically the use of moral policy, that it helps us set up a mindset for the righteous utilization of body, mind, and wealth, and correct evaluation of body, mind, and wealth. Next.
Do we want to take a pause here and maybe
Yes, we
ask
can.
some
Yeah,
people if there is anything
yeah,
they want
sure,
to?
we can.
Yeah. So, at this point, we have any questions or anything that would like to ask, discuss? Renu Didi, you want to say something?
Sorry, it looks like I've become the default setting for asking questions. No, but not a question, Richa, but when that thing came where it was fear of prestige, fear of societal
Yeah,
status, fear of life, fear of wealth. So I couldn't make the distinction between the societal status and prestige. It seemed like मुझे दोनों same जैसे ही लगे. It would be nice if you could elaborate.
yeah,
And this is just another question that was coming to me, that besides fear of life, जो बाकी सारे fears हैं, they seem like everything comes from the space of not not being self-assured. So you are self-assured when you understand everything. So finally, everything is linked to that I don't understand the design of coexistence, and therefore I'm fearful. So in this paragraph, basically, Babaji is only highlighting that because we are imperfect human being, and therefore that imperfection is uh, one of the thing is fear. Is that what he's trying to say here? Because this is a description of the human being still not in the space of Jagrati, is how I'm understanding. Am I understanding it right? This is
I
what.
think so. I also had a um confusion between fear of societal status and fear of prestige. And how I look at it is, when the fear of societal status could be when maybe fear of maybe getting exploited by somebody in the higher societal status, and fear of prestige probably would be when somebody is trying to stand against my prestige, or maybe question my prestige, is how I maybe look at it. And if Rakesh uncle could expand a bit more into it, I think it would be helpful.
I mean, something similar. Basically, when we say that fear of societal status, it's all the positions that are there in the society, whether in the job or in the uh, uh, recognition of what work we are doing and the level at which we are there. So somewhere, if we are at the position for which we do not have the competence for, then we are always under the fear that this position is going to be lost, right? Or there are people who are plotting against me for that. That is the fear of societal status. Then fear of reputation or fear of prestige is that there is an image that we have built about us in the people for the work that we do, and this image we want to actually preserve. And somewhere we have the and if this image is a false image, or it's not, does not truly reflect of who we are always in the fear that we will actually lose it. So यश जो है वो it has to be based on यश, or the true prestige needs to be based on who we truly are and not what persona we want to actually build, uh, and have people command respect from the people, etc. Otherwise, it ends up into another kind of fear. So, Renu Didi, I agree with you that everywhere, all the fears that are there, they are actually because of the lack of understanding, and the and finally all the fears is essentially fears are in the rooted in the fear of life only, because that is where the delusion really is residing. Yeah.
Great.
So this is some sort of a practical advice only, that okay, this is where the fears are. We are coming in the present society, present state of mind, that where we are living. This is how the fears are coming. Yeah.
Thank you. That's also so.
If no one else, then maybe we can resume our reading. Yeah. So
Yeah.
this chapter is actually, it's a very nice chapter in a way that chapter number till chapter number 15, it is more definitional, in the sense it is defining what justice is, it is defining what existence is, it is defining what atom is. So all the chapters before that are more definitional, but here in this chapter, it is actually talking about what do we do in our day-to-day life. So in this chapter, eventually it talks about what do we do with father, what do we do in the father with the mother-child relationship, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Over to you, Richa.
Yeah. Okay, so all right. Such a governance policy has become suitable, which not only maintains cohesiveness in society and liberates it from humaneness, but also,
Once, yeah.
I'll start again. Uh, Such governance policy has become suitable, which not only maintains cohesiveness in society and liberates it from inhumaneness, but also ensures the safety and security of the body, mind, and wealth of the people. Since humans are social beings, the security of one's individual body, mind, and wealth naturally leads to the security of family, society, and nation. This is possible and practicable only when there is a cohesiveness from the individual level till the national and international level. So, in the previous paragraph, we discussed how moral policy helps us create a mindset for the righteous utilization of body, mind, and health, body, mind, and wealth. Governance policy, on the other hand, ensures the protection and preservation of these resources within the society by implementing systems and legislations. Here, security of body can be ensured through various systems concerning swasth sayam. Security of wealth can be managed through various utpadan vinimay systems, and security of mind, I feel, can be made through creating spaces that are conducive for adhyan and abhyas. So this is how I see governance policy. I also feel that uh, when it talks about security of one's individual body, mind, and health, it doesn't mean uh, maybe saving one's body, mind, and wealth from someone, but it means maybe preserving and sustaining that someone's mind, body, and wealth are utilized righteously. This is how I see the meaning of security. The main elements of achievement from the implementation of governance policy are establishing dedication and trust in the rightful ownership of wealth, marital faithfulness, and kindness in work and behavior, along with liberation from acts of misappropriation of wealth, adultery, and inflicting pain on others. So, what will be the achievement of implementation of governance policy? It will be establishing dedication and trust in the rightful ownership of wealth, marital faithfulness, and kindness in work and behavior, and also through setting up various systems and legislations, and also liberating one from the acts of misappropriation of wealth, adultery, and inflicting pain from others. So it not only ensures that the right utilization of body, mind, and wealth is there, but also helps us remove the uh, helps helps us liberate from the acts of misappropriation of wealth, adultery, and inflicting pain on others. It is possible to eradicate the acts of misappropriation of wealth, adultery, and inflicting pain on others only through the refinement and development of the intellectual aspect. The refinement of intellectual aspect is possible only by coming under an influence higher than itself, as it is a law that the underdeveloped finds inspiration from the development only in the proximity of the developed. The refinement of intellectual aspect is achievable only through the reflection of chit, by which the rise of respect towards humaneness and corresponding behavior becomes possible. So, the for someone to trust and wholeheartedly live by social laws, one needs to identify as a person who's in higher humaneness than oneself. That is a Shresht person. Recognize the excellence in them and live under their inspiration and maybe move forward uh, through Anusaran, Anukaran, and Adhyan Abhyas. Um, Next. As governance policy is primarily concerned with the security of resources, it is related more with the material aspects. Therefore, it is imperative and indispensable for it to be under the refuge of moral policy. So, basically, moral policy talks about the mindset for right utilization of body, mind, and wealth. And this only uh, so this means that moral policy is basically the foundation for deciding the governance policy, as governance policy is mainly concerned about security of resources and is mostly related with material aspects. Therefore, it has to be dedicated, or it has to be decided in accordance with the moral policies. The policies at the national, societal, and familial level draw inspiration and guidance from the policies at the international, national, and societal levels, respectively. And the individuals draw inspiration and guidance for humane conduct from the policy at the familial level. Policies are also determined from a different method from this also, which highlight the importance of both the individual for society and society for the individual. Moreover, the importance of cohesiveness from the individual to the entire human society is also assimilated. The determination of policies is done in a different way from this as well, whereby significance of the individual for the society is postulated alongside significance of the society for the individual. Additionally, the significance of alignment from the individual to the entire human society also gets assimilated. So, in an awakened society, the governance policies from international level to individual level would be cohesive and inclined and aligned without any kind of conflict between them. Currently, the as we see that the policies can vary between two nations, often leading to clashes, or the policies of one nation can vary from the international policy. So, in an awakened society, in contrast, would have an harmony in policies across all the levels, ensuring that every stage, which is basically from individual to international, is as important as the other. In the way of awakening, nurturing is possible with international policy addressing indivisibility and universality. The national policy focusing on intactness of systems that ensure adherence to legislation and justice. Societal policy addressing aspects of rightful ownership of wealth, marital faithfulness, and kindness in work and behavior. And individual level policy to address living with understanding. So so here we'll discuss about a little bit about different forms of nurturing at each level. So at the level of individual, it will be living with complete resolution. Uh, at family level, nurturing can be seen as living by social laws, which is the rightful ownership of wealth, marital Swanari Swapurush, which is also and kindness in work and behavior. At the level of nation, it would be living with justice and without fear. And at international level, it is living in an indivisible society and universal system, and thereby implementing all these the policies to achieve these at all the different levels. So this is how an awakened society at each nurturing and in an awakened society at each of these levels would look. Next. It is important to clarify something about relationships and associations. Both involve fulfilling responsibilities based on reciprocation. But the difference between the two is that anticipations in relationships are predefined and reciprocations occur accordingly. Whereas the reciprocation in associations is not predefined but optional. Relationships focus on responsibilities while associations focus on duties. The expectation for rightful ownership of wealth, marital faithfulness, and kindness in work and behavior is there in associations as well. Relationships are only in the purview of humans, whereas all entities are associated directly or indirectly. So, in relationships, the expectations are already predefined, and the values have between relationships have to be fulfilled. Whereas in associations, the interactions and reciprocations are optional and can be decided situationally. But in even in associations, the basic minimum expectations between two people is that both follow the social laws, and that is marital faithfulness, rightful ownership of wealth, and kindness in work and behavior. Also, relationship is focused on responsibilities and fulfilling of responsibilities, which where here value of bhav is the main focus here, and associations is more duty focused, meaning we are more focused on work. So relationships are more behavior and value centric, and associations are mostly work centric. All associations are sources of inspiration. Associations are of two types: associations with nature, and second, associations with humans. Awakened humans engage in the use and right use of natural abundance in their association with nature. All associations with the material nature and accomplishments through them are meant for fulfilling relationships. Humans draw inspiration from associations for their development or become inclined towards it. Next line. Human associations that give inspiration for awakening are nurturing. So here, all the associations that a human has, it is basically there are only two associations possible. One is associations or interactions with the rest of the nature, and then the second is associations with humans. uh, and all the associations of human and physical world are dedicated for the fulfillment of relationships only. All human associations are meant for awakening, which means that all human associations that inspire us or provide us with the right environment for awakening are nurturing, and the opposite of that is exploitation. One who does not evaluate something will not utilize it righteously or will not be able to do so. Therefore, it is necessary to evaluate every aspect of human beings. Evaluation is necessary in all relationships. Evaluation is only of the essentiality. The duties in a relationship are determined and fulfilled only on the basis of its essentiality. The non fulfillment of responsibilities towards a person obstructs their nurturing, which is their exploitation. Also, the one who was expected to fulfill the responsibility gets only mistrust in return. Mistrust itself is the cause of revolt, rebellion, and terror, leading to exploitation. So, here, what is right evaluation? Uh, right evaluation means right utilization, which is for both the associations with human and nature. So, right evaluation is understanding the meaning, understanding the purpose, and understanding the contribution towards the system. और in Hindi, right evaluation is मूल्यों के अर्थ में आकलन कर पाना. So right utilization would be right evaluation is also sadupyog or right utilization, which is the right utilization of mind, body, and wealth, which is dedicated for the fulfillment of values in relationships. Now, the opposite of this, which is the wrong evaluation, that leads to misuse. For example, if I do not understand the meaning of water or purpose of water, or what is the contribution of water in this in the system, then there's a higher chance that I might misuse it or overuse it, which ultimately creates problems. Or if one doesn't understand what is the contribution or purpose of coal in on earth, then we either tend to overuse it and or misuse it, which we have, and it is obviously leading to the various problems of pollution and global warming as we see it. Now, in a human-human relationship, for example, if there's a parent-child relationship and there is a lack of clarity about the requirements for nurturing of the child from the side of parent due to any reason, if a parent does not know what is the right environment or what is the right requirement of a child, or the parent does not understand their duties and responsibilities towards the child, or fails to understand for any reason, including providing the correct appropriate environment for a childhood, then the child might not be able to trust. There's a lack of trust from the child, uh, from the side of the child to the parent, which eventually leads to a state of rebellion from the child. And this also is the reason for lack of trust in relationships, where we are not able to evaluate or have a correct evaluation of our relationships, and therefore we are not able to fulfill the values that are required in a relationship. In every relationship, which includes associations, the values aspect takes precedence over the material aspect. The extent to which the values are disregarded in a relationship, the material aspect gains prominence to that very extent. Values are determined in relationships according to humane tradition. When values in relationships are disregarded and material aspects are given prominence, it gives rise to the deluded belief that the undeveloped is the goal for development. In reality, all material aspects are undeveloped compared to human beings. The belief of making the undeveloped a goal blocks the path of development. All wars throughout history have been fought solely for material gains. So, deluded humans have prioritized material possessions and achievements over values in relationships, which eventually has led to breakdown of respect in families or in relationships. And on a society level, this mindset creates a tendency towards material hoarding, which ultimately also results in war. It is also very clear that humans can never attain happiness through material gains, as they are clearly the more developed being from the material or the insentient universe. So, uh, this whole this problem also is because we have been able to not evaluate the relationships and the material world correctly, and there is therefore all the wars throughout history have been fought solely for material gains, which eventually have uh, led to problems in the society and breakdowns in relationships and families. Complete understanding of the necessary laws for any accomplishment is referred to as certitude, whereas endeavor with incomplete understanding is called belief. So, the expression or manifestation of complete understanding is uh, right conduct, and is ultimately nurturing. But with incomplete or incorrect understanding, when values in relationships are not regarded, the relationship is actually belief based, and it does not really go on for a long time, and it eventually becomes an exploitative relationship from either side or both sides. The establishing of humaneness is possible only through thoughts that nurture relationships and associations and behavior accordingly. Else, there is exploitation and pain on of inhumaneness. So, if our so this I think this paragraph also talks about our mindset. So, if our mindset is focused on nurturing and our duties so eventually our duties and responsibilities in a relationship will align towards nurturing, and if our mindset is focused on material gains, then eventually the relationship becomes an exploitative relationship. I think we can maybe pause here for some time and if see if there are any questions.
Ji. Yeah, sure. So anybody wants to ask anything for this so far? Basically, what we are having in this book, in this chapter, we are trying to actually understand the human-made systems that are around us, that are, I mean, starting from the beginning, a number of things that are there which actually nurture us or exploit us. So we are looking at things like society, nation, right? Uh, World, and then we are looking at things like moral policy and governance policy. So humans are not just don't live in isolation. We have built the whole paraphernalia around us to actually live with. We live in a nation. Our nation is uh, Mm. and a group of states that have come together with a certain agreement, right? And there is a method with which we actually govern ourselves. And there are actually societies within them, and there are actually laws and policies of those societies based on which people actually find their life partners, and there are sort of engagements that happen, marriages happen, and so the whole thing is actually is whole system is actually built to provide an environment in which a human being can actually live for their whole life, right? It's impossible to think of a human living in the absence of these constructs. So many a times in our individualistic thinking, we think that all these things are unnecessary. I can live on my own and there's no need for all these things. But the fact is that we are part of this and these things exist, and they are in a way working on nurturing us or exploiting us, or we are actually nurturing them or exploiting them. So it is important to actually understand them. So here Babaji is actually saying that all these systems, all these legislations, all this culture, all this civilization in which we are actually living, they are necessary, and we need to understand them and live in them. Because finally what his darshan is saying is the world is here and now and needs to be lived in. It is not something to be escaped from. All these things are real and they have to be lived in. And if we have to be lived, if we have to be living in them, we need to be understanding how they function, what is their structure, and what is their purpose. So that is what basically Richa today talked about, that about the dharm niti or the moral policy or the governance policy, that is the Rajyaniti. Right? So, so I'm sure that we will actually pay attention to the paragraphs that are being said, because they are. I also used to think that I just need to focus on what Babaji is saying in only in terms of Jivan and Mulya, etc., but not so much in the society and the nation and international, the policies and so on. But to make sense of the world around us, we need to understand them, right? So that's where I see. Drishta, you want to say something?
No, I was also thinking along the same lines. Like I haven't exactly formulated a question, but I think I was struck very much by this line, and I think it reads actually much easier in English than it is in Hindi, which was the establishing of humaneness is possible only through thoughts that nurture relationships and associations and behavior accordingly. Else, there is exploitation and pain of inhumaneness. So, this is like it's so striking. Like this is the significance of dharm niti, and rather of moral policy, or rather that this is what moral policy is, that relationships exist, and not only just that we have to um, not escape from them, but that living in them is the very thing that will establish humaneness. I was just thinking along the same lines that you were just talking about. And actually, I
Yeah.
was also wondering whether, because the same line can be interpreted in two ways, as whether this is for oneself to establish humaneness in oneself, it is through thoughts and behavior that nurture relationships and associations, or it could be that the establishing of humaneness for others. Say there is a humane individual living with humane conduct, then for others, to make it more accessible to others, their conduct will have to be one in which thoughts and behavior are both engaged in nurturing relationships and association. So I was wondering if this is the first interpretation or the second or both.
I would say both. Yeah. So yeah, I think basically one thing that what we are uh, gradually learning to see is that he is looking at society in terms of in a in a scaled up manner, like from family to family group. He's not looking at society as a monolith or the
Mm,
state as a monolith, right? So he is looking at, and he's saying that basically what makes sense at the level of family would make sense at a different level at the level of family group, and so on and so forth.
mm,
So it is like family is a microcosm of the society,
right.
right? So then there basically he says that okay, you I mean right now it seems very far off thing that what is governance policy, what is moral policy, and it seems moral policy is in the hand of some people who are takedars of religion, and state policy is in the hand of politicians. So here we see that what is it, we have kind of lost our connect with both of them. So here he seems to be saying is that we can actually integrate both state and religion in the family and can take charge of them, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
that is something which I feel is a very powerful thing, that to actually establish Swaraj, you need to actually devolve the powers of these seats of power of state and religion and integrate them into family and do it in a staged manner.
mm.
Okay. So, which is very, I mean, it is actually speaking of a revolution in making, a revolution without any bloodshed.
Bottoms up. Uh,
Yeah, bottom up approach.
yeah.
So, and as any other thing we want to discuss, or shall we actually continue? Richa, you want to say something?
No, I think I think this is it, I guess.
Okay. So shall I share the document, or is this
I was thinking if we can maybe take the rest of the, I mean, I've tried to divide this whole thing into
okay?
two parts, and uh, I've pretty much covered the part for today. And
ठीक
I guess I can maybe take the rest of the uh, 7 pages that I have
जी.
the next class, if that's okay
Yeah,
with everybody.
that would be good. Yeah, yeah, I think that would be good. Yeah.
I
So
wanted to ask something. It,
mm,
the word man came, or, and the word that has been used in English is mind. And I got a little confused. Um, that mind in a very chalu English language is about thoughts, about what is
yeah,
going on in our mind. But here it is man. So man, which means its connection with vritti, chitta, everything is here. What Baba is trying to say, or is it? I was a bit kind of. It kind of unlocks me,
yeah. When I say mind, I actually mean till man, vritti, and chit. It is all
You do.
mansik.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
So when we are talking about man as specific, there I am using the word man, M-U-N, man. Okay. So so that is how it is. So mind is everything that is to do with the mansikta or the mentality, right? So it is
Okay.
all the conscious aspect of self, which
Okay.
has even buddhi and atma inside it, right? So so I know that mind word has been used for something mm, which indicates that, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, so when would you use the man only as Chayan and Aswadan Kriya? It will not, or that Chayan Aswadan is inherently inclusive of the whole other Kriyas. Is that what it is normally?
See,
Because,
finally, and any man is the way the consciousness manifests. That means the Jivan manifests itself through man only,
yeah.
right? So even if there is anything that is there in Atma, finally it's will get into the action through man only.
Hmm.
But if you have to indicate all of the conscious entity, then you need to use some other word than man, right?
Hmm.
Because man is referring to specifically the activities of Chayan and Aswadan.
Hmm.
So based on the context, you will need to actually see what
Okay.
you're trying to communicate. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So thanks a lot, Richa. This was very nice. I know that it is a very daunting task to actually read this, and especially read this in English, because it is not the first language in which Babaji has written. But I think what you have done doing is that all the people, all the presenters are actually making this uh, giving this some sort of credibility to this work that we are doing here, right? In a way, basically uh, uh, making it alive and saying that yes, it means the same thing as what the original book is saying, right? So a big thank you for that. And thank you for all the participants of the session as well. Uh, with you only, these sessions are alive. So thank you, Renu Didi. Thank you, everyone.
I think Drishta is wanting to say something, Bhaiya.
Drishta,
Sorry, I was thinking I'll wait till that Anubhuti comes, but then I was going over the text and I realized that in this edition it has been skipped. But because in the old edition, just around this point, there is this part on how भाव पक्ष का तिरस्कार ही संबंध में शोषण है. Um, and then
Hmm.
how that can, I think it's mentioned in one way upper, just above
Hmm.
Nishta
Hmm.
servitude. But again, in one Spashtikaran, in the old edition, it says that भाव पक्ष का क्या तिरस्कार ही, which is I guess the abandoning of the sentiment or value aspect of a relationship itself is the exploitation of that relationship. So
Right.
I feel like that when that kind of hit me, it was a major sort of game changer. Otherwise, the following anubhutis that talk about responsibilities in the relationship or daitva, often I used to interpret them also as the actions that are involved in that relationship. Like say in a parent-child relationship, it is taking care of the nourishment of the child. So, the feeding and the bathing and the health and all that, or the sending to school. So those sort of actions is what I would imagine as the daitva. But it was this section which kind of brought it home, and actually it made sense also because when so many parents are doing that, but the child still feels dissatisfied often because that sentiment somewhere gets lost. I mean, I just felt like I was waiting for that to come to ask, can we explore that further? But I realized, I think in the latest Hindi edition only that part was skipped out.
Yeah,
Sorry, sentiment. What do you mean by that sentiment, Risha?
I mean, I'm just using sentiment for bhav. Bhav paksh ka tiraskar hi. The injustice, the whole point of justice is the living out of the values, the bhav. When that is not lived out, even if the action is done, it cannot lead to
Yeah. Okay, I get it. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. That was an interesting point.
Okay, तो फिर आज यहाँ पर रुकते हैं. We will stop here today and we will meet next on the in our next session. So सभी को नमस्ते and good night or have a nice day wherever you are.
Namaste.
Right.
Thank you.